This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September 7th Easthampton Board of Public Works meeting. I'll get a motion to open the meeting.
Second.
Thomas Goldsberry,
Yes.
David Fagnan,
Yes.
Stephen Litwin.
Yes.
All right, the meeting is open. Looks like we do not have anybody joining us for public speak this evening. We were not expecting the mayor this evening. So item number 3, approval of the August 17th, 2020 meeting minutes. Did everyone get a chance to look at what Michelle sent out?
Yeah. Yes.
Any issue with as presented?
Not from me. Steve, you?
No.
All right, then I will make a motion to approve the minutes as prepared.
I second that.
Thomas Goldsberry,
Yes.
David Fagnan,
Yes.
Stephen Litwin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Item number 4, we have our standing item for discussion of the time bond rate setting information that they've provided. Anybody had any additional thoughts over the last few weeks of what we've been working with or how we'd like to proceed after we outlined kind of a rough idea last week or last meeting?
No, nothing.
No.
I think we just have to present
Yep.
what we know needs to be done.
Yeah, I agree.
We just have to be cognizant of the inflation and everything's going up.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is going up.
Oh, 100%.
And we have to make sure that we're totally prepared for this. And listening in the last couple of meetings, maybe more listening than talking, it's just the backlog of work that has to be done, and this is prior to Greg's tenure, of all the work that needs to be done. And, there needs to be a way of categorizing this when we present it. It's just not back 2 years or 4 years, but 10 years or so that we've got to start correcting some of these things and improving some of these things. And because it's tough out there right now, and so you just can't bang them right across the eye and say, here it is.
And yes, 100% agree. And and we know that's when we go to public meetings, as we should, that is the questions that are going to come up. And that's where we're all going to have to be kind of ready for this.
Yep.
And I think I kind of said something similar. Remember, I was talking about, well, there's all this, the money on the top divided by that fixed-ish amount on the bottom is our rate.
Right.
And people are gonna ask us to justify that.
I don't disagree, yeah.
And I know we feel it's all justified, and then we have that report, which I left in my truck.
It's quite hard.
So we know what we need to do, but the residents are gonna say,
Well, you said the key word, to justify, and I think that's where we have to lay everything on the table to justify these increases. And again, it's just not, well, we need to correct this from here to here, but it really kind of, and we have to be prepared for the questions, why all the way back here?
We were getting those 2.5 years ago.
Right, and I think the public I think what came out of that meeting was some people didn't understand how it got this bad. And then also, on the other hand, said, I like my rates low. And it's like, well, that's kind of how we got here.
Yeah.
So I think it's literally just an education and exposure. And that's why I want to sort of have these, like we're thinking about for the next meeting, to have sort of the workshop meeting where we try and get a little bit more participation here, just to start to get the word out. So people don't feel blindsided in the public meeting. If we can have a discussion for the next few months, and
Yes.
then we'll know where the pressure points are and where we need to explain better. And I think that's going to be good for us good for tie and bond for the presentation at the public hearing. You know, we can anticipate the pinch points and what are going to be the hard points to explain, but I do want to get the public input in it, so.
And that's the key right there, is being prepared for those questions, is when you're not prepared.
Yeah.
But this is not a reflection on Greg. I think since I started with this, I think he's done an excellent job in his job in preparing for these meetings. But it's just the part that I don't have that warm, comfy feeling is prior to Greg all the way back. That's the part I think that's going to give us more headaches than it is from when Greg started to now.
I agree, and I think we need to explain, not explain, but to say,
Justify.
there is this backlog of work.
Right.
And ignoring it is not going to make it better.
Well, I don't think we're going to be able to explain.
No, I think I think we need to explain why we need to accomplish 20 years of deferred maintenance in the
Yes.
next 5 years.
Okay.
And have them say, well, why can't we do it over the next 10 or 15? Why do we have to have this aggressive schedule? And we need to explain service life
Yes.
and structure and, you know, why we have this timetable, both for construction and rate increases, you know, because they haven't been done over the last 20 years. It could have been a much more gradual process, but we're now at this point where we're the board that has inherited this, and this is the timeline. You know, if we could do it all in the next year, that would be great, but physically we can't, and financially we can't. Our best goal is hopefully to get it done in 5 years, you know, these critical projects. I think that's what we need to explain
Yeah.
You know,
as to why our timetables,
sometimes,
I
I'm
hear
sorry.
a 5, not 10 or 15.
Yeah.
Because the structure just can't hold out that much longer. It may, but, you know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I'm sorry for interrupting you. Sometimes choices, it's just like being a parent with a kid, a choice. And sometimes if we can present choices, you know, if the rates are this, then this is all it's going to give us.
Right.
But if we could just get those rates to this, then we can do this. So what is the feeling? You know, maybe there's a third choice.
Yeah, I think we touched on that a little bit with the priority list. And,
Yeah.
And, you know, if there was any gradation, but there really isn't, we have that many like category 1 projects, you know, how do we pick and choose? You know, maybe we could defer it from 5 to 7 years, but then which projects do you push out to the end of that?
Well,
Comfortably.
I just still feel it's better than just saying, here it is, take it or leave it. But again, you say, well, again, we could do this, but it's only going to put so much in the shopping cart.
Right.
Do a little bit more, we could put a lot more in the shopping cart. And we do this, we could fill up the shopping cart.
Right, but would we be comfortable with option 1, you know?
Then that's what we
If
have
that-
to
if that's what-
decide, and that's what,
If we get pushed for, no, we only want a little bit in the shopping cart, then we're bound by that, and what do we not do? Do we not do this outfall from the POTW? Do we not do the pumping
Those
stations?
are decisions we'll have to make. I mean,
Yeah,
What I would be afraid of is saying, don't worry, everything's fine, and then in 10 years, we're back in the same position, which I think over the years was kind of, the city's changed a lot in the last 6 or 8 years, 10 years. And prior to maybe 8 years ago, there was a bit of a different mentality in town where people wanted rates to stay low. They stayed low, and here's what we've got. So,
well, that's what I meant as far as the
Yeah.
base shopping cart. Not saying that we just throw a couple little quick fixes, a little mortar here, duct tape here. Important items.
Yeah, I
Important items,
understand.
but we could grow on that. And again, I think if we could show a picture, this really needs to get done sooner than later.
I think so.
So when we go to public hearing, no, okay. When BPW sets a rate, it does not get kicked up to city council.
No, we are the rate-setting body.
We set the rate.
Yep,
we just get.
So that public meeting that we're going to have, there's going to be more than one. We're talking about maybe some workshops
yes.
and things. They're really to just get the feel of the community.
The workshops
The
would be to
pulse.
get.
Try to get some buy-in.
My idea is that the workshops would be to get
Right.
buy-in
Right.
at the public hearing.
I just want to get the,
Yep.
right,
And then the public hearing,
feeling,
we in
yeah.
theory could do it in one session where we present, get public input, and then vote at the end of it. I mean, we can take the pulse of, in the workshops, but I picture it being 2 public hearings. One where we present, get public feedback.
Well, I was going to suggest something similar. I think
And then-
we kind
and
of
then
talked
we-
about this.
Then we continue.
Instead of just having one hearing and then everybody has their opinions and then we just,
Right. Yeah, I mean, ideally, we would, with the sort of workshops, we would have an idea where the issues were and we could refine them before the first public
Right.
hearing. But I imagine we'll have a first public hearing, public speak, we'll have presentation, and then we can adjourn and continue it and reflect on it for 2 weeks and then have the second half, have a
I
discussion.
can see that,
Discussion in
right.
public between us.
with possibly some workshops before that, right?
Between
Public
the two-
workshops.
Between the 2 sessions?
No,
Yeah, way before.
way before.
Yep.
Oh, no, not in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so we don't.
There
just
has
so-
to be a
just
way,
so
because we can't, I mean, we can put something. Be better to not just let everybody just go, oh, by the way, over the next 5 years, we're gonna 2.5 times your rates. At the meeting.
Yeah, at the singular
At
meeting.
the singular meeting.
And that's how it's been done in the past.
Yes.
But I would like to
was
have-
there for one.
Yes. And at the end of that, they were assuming we would vote basically regardless of public input.
Right.
Which is why I continued that one, but then the series got suspended due to COVID. But
Yes.
I would anticipate, between September and December to have a few workshops.
Yeah.
And then possibly have the first public hearing in December or January, and then the second one in January or February, in which we vote, and then it's
Yeah.
ready for the March billing cycle to be applied in July or June.
When you had those public meetings back then, a couple of years ago, were the rates adjusted then, after that? Or was that suspended too?
It was all suspended due to COVID.
So when's the last time that they've gone up?
The following year, the first year of COVID, we did an emergency rate setting hearing via Zoom, just because we were going to have a shortfall. The rates were not going to cover operating. So we did a fairly aggressive, it was a very similar thing where we presented 3 options. One was, I think, a cumulative like 6%, a 7%, and an 8%. And, we made the case basically to the small public hearing on Zoom, and I opened it up and everybody was just like, well, let's do the 8. And that made sense, and luckily that's kind of carried us for the last 2+
I
years.
guess that's what I kind of recommended earlier, they
Yep.
make a choice like that.
Yep.
This is, and this is.
Yeah, one was basically like, this will almost get us, we'll eat into our reserves a little. This one should be break even, and this one actually sets us up, which luckily that, has set us up for a couple of years.
And then we got,
Because we had
and then we got the
increased
COVID push where increased usage. There was, people used more water during COVID.
Right. So
Theory being they were home.
yeah, they were home and not at their
Who
offices.
knows? Yeah.
Yeah, we saw some months it was like a 20% increase
yeah,
in
Significantly
usage.
higher now.
So luckily the emergency rate we set plus
That's why we
additional
ran out of
usage.
toilet paper.
That's
part of
literally,
the same thing.
that's literally been carrying us since 2020. But, we need to set a capital rate now to do, we've been treading water, they've been working on what they can internally, but,
Well, I like what you did then with the choices, and I still say we should try to figure out some kind of choice plan instead of just saying, this is it.
yep, that's something we can
Because,
look at.
because if you start off that way, then it's gonna just create a negative tone, but we're here to discuss different options.
Well, I think we can do accomplish both of those via the workshops. We can have a couple different options as we work over the next few months. I would like to go to the public hearing with a final set of, like we've worked over the last 3 months through workshops that have had public input.
That have had public
Yeah,
input.
We have presented
Right.
3 different options over that through consensus, because I don't want to drag out the public hearing process by trying to make a choice in the moment of. I'd like to be able to go to public hearing with, these are the proposed rates. I mean, if we get shouted down in the public hearing, that's what the continuance is for,
Yeah.
to phase 2, which would have meant we completely misread the workshops or whatever. But
I understand, I agree with that.
yeah, I think we can, over the next few months, say,
The press needs to be at our workshops.
they need to know about it, yeah.
They need to know, they don't need to be there.
Right,
You
but-
can't tell them to come here.
Right.
But, yeah.
The press and city council, the mayor,
Yeah.
needs to be an
Oh, yeah.
engaged conversation.
Yeah, I think the next one that we were sort of proposed for mid-September, you know, we don't need that one to be flooded.
No,
I think
not the 21st one, right?
I had made a note for 9/21 for the first one.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I
Oh,
say the
okay,
wrong date?
yeah, well, yeah.
Well, it'd be our next
Yeah,
BPW meeting.
I just
Mhm.
did the math wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we'll put the word out and try and get more people here, and then maybe for the second one or third one, have the mayor and city council
Yeah.
to get a little more feedback.
So people start realizing what may have to happen,
Yeah.
is probably going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want people to feel
Yeah.
blindsided.
Yeah.
Be like, we've been working on this
Mm-hmm.
during our BPW meetings, you know, having a workshop session
Yep.
for the last, 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, technically, the past 2 years, it's just, everything's
Yeah.
been so messed up. It's just,
I'm sorry, Greg, what was?
Well, I was going to say, do you have some, like, an idea of the content you would like to see in the 9/21 workshop, and given that that's 2 weeks out?
I think basically, I mean, I don't even know if Ty and Bond needs to be here, or if we could just get their presentation polished up a little with the rates that the rates that I did last meeting.
Yep.
The ones that I sort of normalized to our full nickel
Sure.
instead of his pennies. And then we can just run through the slides ourselves to the public.
Yep.
And, get a first read on public input.
Yeah, and see what kind of attendance we get.
I'd like to save Ty and Bonds, because I don't know, they gave us a couple workshop
Mhm.
sessions and
Yep.
then the public hearing. I don't want to burn them all. So maybe we save Ty and Bond representing.
Yeah, see what we get for questions, things that we need to clarify.
Right, and then we roll that.
yeah, by using our next meeting.
And then the
to
next
see-
one, we can
Yeah.
invite the mayor and city council with
Mhm.
Ty and Bond, and we can
Yep.
have a little more active.
So maybe we
discussion.
would bring time bond in for the second October meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
Who would you invite for the workshops? How do you get the invites out?
I think through the DPW page and.
We don't
Yeah.
have a DPW page.
Oh, you don't?
We can
Well,
put it on the city's
Put it in the splash
website.
up.
But planning,
Yeah, mayor does. We
the
can get it. We can push
the
it
mayor
out.
and the planning department are pretty good on Facebook. They have a lot of engagement there. We can ask them to
Mhm.
just say
Oh,
that,
yep, police department can put it on there too.
Yeah.
They're good about posting stuff.
say, first rate setting workshop will be held during the, ending 9/27 or 9.
Just- And see what we get, and hopefully this room will
Mhm.
accommodate.
Yeah, I mean,
And we're thinking about working those around our regular meetings.
I
right?
think we'll just do,
I think that's
we'll just do
great
it
way
as
to
like a little
start this.
breakout thing, like
Yeah.
we have this,
Yeah.
and the discussion, we'll just say, discussion and workshop, public discussion and public workshop,
Mm-hmm.
as just a more engaged item on our
Yeah.
agenda. I think we can, rather than, holding any extra.
Are we going to be ready with our presentation, what we're going to present
Yeah,
them?
I think we can be.
Yeah, like I said, I think even if we just kind of take Ty and Bond's one that they presented us, strip it down a little, clean it up, and just like I said, just run through the slides and just sort of get that first pushback, public read on it. And then we'll have a month to sort of incorporate those answers
Yeah,
for an
for
October.
the second October meeting.
That will invite more city management to just to, they don't need to be involved in the first one while we're sort of getting the pulse and questions. I think most people will be happy we're not revisiting the stormwater one in this go-around.
Yes.
That was a major sticking point in the last public hearing.
So it was.
So we would have the 9/21, and then 10/19.
Yep. One in November, was that getting a little close to the holiday?
We have November 2nd and 16th, so
Okay, yeah, we could do that.
theoretically do the last public workshop November 16th.
And then either start the public hearing in December or wait until after the holiday and do January, February
Yep.
for the public hearing.
So I'll just kind of tentatively put that down.
Yeah.
9/21, 10/19, and 11.
And 11/16. Okay.
And
Is
having,
that Veterans Day?
On Wednesday?
No, Veterans Day is that
Isn't there a
Friday.
holiday in there
It's
somewhere?
in that Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's Friday.
Okay.
It's not in the middle of the week this
Okay.
year.
Those are when we'll more invite the pub, or kind of build it
Yeah,
up.
I think that way we can alternate
Yeah.
where we have
So
public
we're gonna
input
do-
and then the one in the beginning of the month, we
Right.
can sort of
9/21.
reformulate, discuss.
And then the holiday
Fifth.
season will hit, nobody's thinking about, I mean, we'll
Right.
do our stuff, but,
Right.
and then we can come back in after that.
New Year's
Okay.
and do the public hearings.
and having
Nope,
these
it's in
workshops, I
we'll have
think
a
will
regular
better
meeting the
prepare
first
us
week of
for
Oc-
the
first week
public
of
hearing.
October.
Right, and that's where we
Kind of
can,
fine tune
that's where we can do your sort of
Discussion will be on the
presentation
meeting on the
of,
19th.
you know, if we get a lot of pushback, all right, well, here's option
Oh, so
two,
it's like
but,
the second
Right.
you know,
meeting.
The second meeting.
and then by January,
Okay, have time
we'll be
in
able to
between.
say,
Okay.
we are comfortable with this, we think we can
Right.
present it to the
Okay.
full
Mhm.
public hearing.
I have a February business trip, but we'll figure that out so we don't
Yeah,
screw that
the
all up.
public
You know what I
hearings are-
mean?
the
They're-
public
It's
hearings-
just a 5-day thing, but.
Yeah, but the public
just-
hearings are not tied to our
Right.
normal dates, like,
Yeah, okay.
I mean, we could
Yeah.
even do them a week apart, we could do 2 in
Mhm.
January, we could do it,
Mhm.
you know, we don't need to draw it out.
Yep.
Well, I guess we would need enough, what's the notice time on the public hearings? I can't remember, if it was like 10 day or a week.
I wanna,
I think it's 10 days.
I think
Yeah.
so too,
Yep, so we could do it,
but like 10 business days, I
yeah,
believe.
so we could do.
Yeah,
them-
2 weeks.
We could do
It's
them
gotta
2
be
weeks
2
apart,
yeah.
like if we had the first one and we're like, you know, we're comfortable, we can, let's set the next one 2 weeks out.
Okay.
And we could just file it the next day. We'll see. But I think that gives everybody a comfortable lead time, and it'll give us time to react to input and incorporate it into the final proposal.
Great.
All right.
Yes.
Any more on item 4? Or are we comfortable with that as an approach and
I think
actually
that-
feel like we're getting somewhere?
I think we're,
Yeah, I think we are.
I think we're progressing.
Yeah. Progressing towards maybe kind of getting somewhere?
How do you feel, considering that you've already done this once before COVID? Do you feel that we're better prepared for this go-around than you?
I think both that and me personally having a better understanding of what's at stake and my commitment to getting it done.
Right.
So I can stand in front of people now and say, this is what, you know,
Right.
needs to do, and we've looked at a lot of options, and this is the one that I feel comfortable presenting to you.
And we've
I
had-
actually know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
a
I've
big
only
deal, yeah.
been, what,
Maybe a month,
a month
Mhm.
chair?
I think, and that was his first meeting.
I was
think.
temporary.
He was temporary. Yeah,
And that was awful, because we had, that place upstairs was packed.
it was
Timing.
3 hours of
Timing thing
public
with the
speak,
school
I
and
think.
everything. It was a tough time for.
It was 3 hours of public speak almost, I think.
I just hope if it gets that way, that you're gonna say, our presenter, Steve Litwin, take it over.
It was, well, this is gonna be interesting too.
But I-
that was, we were talking about the stormwater utility,
And-
which I had already read the thing, but that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. And some people were, they had some good points too.
Yeah.
They were making good points.
Yeah.
But I was like,
But we weren't prepared as
We
a board
weren't.
to answer them or
oh, we
defend
were
them.
not.
We've had this as an item on our agenda for months now,
Yeah.
to be involved in the conversation if we
Yeah.
wanted to be, so.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Nope. But that is,
Well, if we.
That's why we're gonna do better next time.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think we now can,
Mhm.
we can anticipate the issues, and
Mhm.
we know what's at stake, and we know how Greg runs his department, we know
Mhm.
how the city
Yeah, a lot of things different since then.
yeah, we're a slightly more mature board.
Yep.
And if we run into an aggressive crowd during the public hearing, would we have Ty and Bond then present there
Yeah.
to help us diffuse that?
The way we ran it before, I assume it'll be fairly similar. You know, the evening kicked off basically with Tayambon giving the presentation, and then it was open to public comment on that, where they address the board, and the board can't respond because it's literally just input. So, you know, and then after that, we basically consider what the input the public gave. You know, if it dissuaded us or made us rethink anything, we could either vote to not increase rates, or we could vote to continue and represent new rates at the next hearing.
Thank you.
That's sort of how I see managing it. But
A lot of complaining about the property tax increases, which have nothing to do with
It was
it.
a timing thing.
yeah, the school bonds, it just.
Oh, man.
Yeah, yeah. I
And they
remember that.
put
I
the
remember
reset the
that.
base rate or something and redone the appraisal, like, it was like a
Everything at
storm.
once, and
Everything
I
at
think
once.
2 quarters went out on one bill,
Yeah.
so that. led
It
to
was
a lot
like,
of-
whatever, a
Yeah,
tsunami.
it's a perfect storm kind of
Just
situation.
A perfect storm.
All the streets coming into one point
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we,
And we were sitting there with
We were
Austin.
with the stop sign.
No, they were the punching bag.
yeah.
They weren't even a stop sign, they were just a punching bag.
But it was, I mean, it was completely understood, and I
Yep,
and I
yep.
saw it coming, because originally they planned to have it in this room, and we were just gonna do it and vote. And I said, I don't think you understand the resistance to this. So we had it up in the city council, and it was standing room,
Was it really?
out the door. Yeah, the public speak line went
It
out and
actually
around.
probably, if you go on, what is it, the Easthampton
Oh, it's
media
still there.
page? It's
Mhm.
still there, it's from February of 2019.
2020.
2020, yeah, 2020.
Yeah.
The month before COVID.
You get to see me sitting there going, oh.
What did I sign up for? But no, it was, like I said, it was understood, and I would, you know, that was what the meeting was for, and we heard the public and did not vote on the rates. You know, didn't expect the next month to be a lockdown.
I had 3 pages of notes from that thing, so.
No.
And I still have minutes that aren't approved because it was continued.
True. All
And
right.
then all the great COVID fun hit right after that, so.
Yeah.
And we're still not quite out of it.
No,
Nope.
no, absolutely. All right, I think we have a plan.
All right. That is it. I will conclude item number 4.
Okay.
And we can open number 5 for director's report.
Union Street, I'll just touch on that briefly. I have no updates from our meeting on August 17th, so the
Okay.
schedule is still
Yeah.
as it was then. Like I said before, not expecting to see a whole lot of activity there this season, so more so in the spring. Cherry Street, Maria's Concrete Services is moving along with the sanitary sewer replacement. That's their main focus over the past couple of weeks. We are working diligently with the property owners at 67 Cherry Street to access an easement we have through their property to deal with the restabilizing the embankment at the back of their property along the brook and resetting the head wall and replacing the sanitary sewer manhole that happens to be in their yard and the drainage outfall pipe that runs adjacent to their home also. So we're working on getting access through there. Hopefully, if things go well, some of that work can get started next week and hopefully wrap up in the next 5 or 6 weeks. But the work will continue on Cherry Street, I anticipate, till probably through June of next year anyway, depending on what kind of winter we have and how late in the season they can keep working. Holyoke Street, I know I mentioned it to you guys before, we did get some grant funding to make some pedestrian safety improvements at East Green and Allen Streets. And we're going to couple that with our Chapter 90 and the Winter Recovery Assistance Program funding we received from the state. We're going to be able to pave. It's hard for me to say exactly, but we're putting out to bid. I'm hoping our engineers are finalizing the plans now. We should have it out to bid by the end of the month. We'll be paving on Holyoke Street from Cottage to Allen Streets with those improvements at East Green and Allen. And we're also paving Trueheart Drive and Wamelco Way. So streets off of Main Street.
Okay.
They're both in very, very, very poor condition. Whether we'll be able to do them both or not, I'm not sure. Prices have been coming in very strangely, so we'll have to see how much we can carry and how much I can work with the mayor on funding over what I know we have. So hoping to at least do True Heart. True Heart Drive is, the utilities under it aren't in horrible shape, but the pavement needs to be done. But it's not as simple like mill and fill. It's a reclaim and fix the street. I think it's the original pavement from when the neighborhood was built, I think in the late 70s. And it's just
True Heart.
fairly wet over there, and it's take a ride down, you'll see it's pretty bad. So hopefully we'll have that. Hopefully we'll have those out by the end of the month, and I'll have a pretty good idea of what we'll be able to cover and anticipate that work happening first thing in the spring. We've had a group of residents reach out to the police department and city council public safety committee from Greenwood Court. Greenwood Court has seen a uptick in speeding and traffic with the closure of Brewster Court and Williston taking that over. A lot of people like to avoid, what we're learning, it seems a lot of people like to avoid the intersection of Main and South, and they'll come up Park Street and then cut through Greenwood Court to get to Main Street. So they're seeing speeding and just an increased traffic volume there. So we've been discussing putting in a temporary speed table on Greenwood that could be relocated to another area of town. My anticipated going something like this where we put it out there, we see how it goes, if it alleviates the problem. We look at a more permanent speed table installation on Greenwood Court, and then we have the temporary speed table to use at a, say on Parsons Street or Franklin Street or somewhere else where it can be safely installed and hope to use it to alleviate issues in other parts of town. So working on getting that ordered now with the procurement. Lincoln procurement hasn't been the most straightforward thing to get ordered, but hopefully we'll have it coming pretty soon. So that, if I can get that in, I'd like to get it out on Greenwood Court, depending on how soon I can get it here. I'd like to get like a 60-day trial run with it out this fall if I can before the snow flies, but we'll have to see what the weather does and how quickly we can get here. So you guys are aware that it's something we're looking at doing.
Good.
That's in coordination with the police department. I've working with them on it. Hopefully it'll make a difference for this. I was out there just measuring the street. The cars are like, it's amazing how fast people drive through there. So, and just to keep the board informed, the building operations as part of DPW, we maintain City Hall, Public Safety Complex, and the 3 now vacant school buildings we're being tasked with managing those while the RFP goes out and the city decides, the direction forward for those 3 properties. So those are officially being passed over to the DPW, to the city tonight. And I don't know what meeting this is, their city council or school committee meeting. And they're officially becoming national. We're working on transferring the electric bills and the heating bills. So we've got some somewhat rough costs. I do anticipate we're going to have electricity costs for the 3 buildings and heat be better than $150,000 a year. That we'll be working with the mayor's office to get an appropriation to fund those expenses. Heat and electricity are just part of it. We have to keep the elevators inspected, fire sprinkler systems, buildings. They have to stay heated pretty much to the extent that they are now because the heating systems are so old, and to have a certain portion of the building prevent from freezing, we have to keep other parts at a warmer temperature. So,
Could you mothball the buildings? Could you do that?
concern with doing that is how quickly their conditions inside will deteriorate, the plaster and everything else. Hoping the city council, I believe, is going to get that RFP for their reuse out. I think it's going out on the 21st, so there might be some delay after that meeting. How quickly it goes out, how soon they can be sold off, or however the city best decides to move forward. I just want the board to be aware that it is something that this department is dealing with.
Yeah.
Will those buildings be occupied at all?
No, there's really no. I mean, there's been some discussion about them being able to be used for basketball and things like that, but there's no staff. If we're going to open it up for an event, we have to have bathrooms that are cleaned and maintained, and we're going to have to deal with snow and ice at each building, but we won't do that to the extent we would if they were being used to try to save some money there. But they're going to be a costly thing for the city until they're
reused.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. And another vacant building that DPW has been dealing with is 75 Oliver Street, the former town lodging house. It's
Right.
been vacated, and we've basically secured that. We will be mothballing. We've just
Okay.
secured it, And as soon as got permission from the fire department to deactivate the sprinkler system there, once the weather starts to change. So we're just going to leave it on as long as we can. It starts to get cool, I won't completely winterize, and that'll just be mothballed out. But it's been taking some of our resources. Be working with the mayor's office to find a path forward for these places over the next year or so. We just want you guys to be aware.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
That's basically all I've got for you. With water department had to replace a fire hydrant on intersection of Holyoke and Goff Street today, and that went fairly smooth. So little stuff, just kind of our maintenance stuff. Car hit that one, I think. Guys did a great job cleaning up from the microburst that went through a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
We had several city trees go down.
Nice Friday late afternoon for you.
Yeah.
As soon as it happened, I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
Friday afternoon, of course.
But the guys, they came in and they did a great job helping get roads back open and blocked off for the time being until lines were cleared. And we probably had about half a dozen trees that were actual just city street trees that came down, and we're still working through cleaning up some of it, but doing the best we can. We get contractors out, stumps ground and picked up and things like that. So one insurance claim that's working through from some damage to a home. Could have been worse. They lost 20 trees inside Nantucket Park. So.
My wife was on Union Street, and she
really?
came home, and she goes, "What was the weather like here?" I said, "A little bit of lightning and rain." She goes, "I was like in the middle of a tornado."
Yeah.
She goes, "You wouldn't believe what it was like." I guess there was like pink boards on Union. She goes, "I don't even know where they came from. I guess branches were on cars."
Oh, yeah.
But I missed her car.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. It was probably the sketchiest weather I've seen at my house since I've been here.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of like, do I grab the dog and go? Like,
Yeah.
It was coming from I know it's odd to say, but it was coming from the wrong direction. Like, all the trees were leaning the wrong way, and it was just like, I don't know. Like,
Something's not right.
We have
right?
one big tree in our yard, and it was not happy. It lost a lot of branches, and I think it was just stressed the wrong way. It was
Sure.
just, the way the wind normally comes down off the mountain, it was going the other way.
And, we had some trouble we may have seen with the light at Main and Union on Monday, Labor Day. We've got some wires in there that need to be replaced. Our contractor was able to get it working late Monday night, but it's working now. So.
Okie dokie.
All right, well, thank you for the update.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
All progress.
We have.
Really got a lot of stuff done in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we had a lot of things moving forward here, kind of at the same time, so it's good.
Yeah, it feels good.
I love seeing the construction happen on Cherry Street. Myself and I didn't have this position when I was in utilities. We spent several cold nights there trying to keep the sewer flowing. So just to see the trucks there not getting done, it's like
Excellent.
nice to see it get finished. So.
Yeah. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll make a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
Second.
Thomas Salisbury,
Yes.
David Beckman,
Yes.
Steve Litwin,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries. Next meeting, September 21st.
Excellent.
Hopefully we get a crowd.
The next meeting would, yes, it does.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.